Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back. It is another edition of Pizza at the Pagoda. This one is going to be an epically good dumpster fire of a show as we preview the 106th running of the greatest spectacle in racing, qualifying weekend. Oh my goodness. Connor Daly leading into the weekend, the biggest recorded trap speed in history. 240 plus miles an hour into turn 3. 234 mile an hour laps on Saturday and Sunday. It was insane. But first, we'll introduce the cast of characters here. The background noise I'm hopefully going to be able to edit out is Mike McCullen. He's driving somewhere near Buffalo, which is kind of unfortunate. It's better than Cleveland, but not by much. Jason Owens here with us, as well as our Ben Carswell and James Watson. But first, we'll start things as always. Mike, please, dear God, tell me you're not drinking and driving while recording a podcast.
Nope, I'm drinking a McDonald's Diet Coke.
Only the best kind of Diet Coke,
I do have a case of beer in the back of the car.
It's a good place for it right now.
Yes.
We need you to make it to Indy.
Can confirm that one. Get the cargo you are carrying with you there safely. And I mean family, not the beer in the back. Jason, what are you sipping on tonight?
Keeping it watery with just a Miller Lite. I thought about getting Mike a case of Natty Light for when he gets here on Saturday to hang out.
Are you guys going to go like...
Right behind my seats.
Are you going to burn something in the Coke lot while drinking it?
I will not be attending any Coke lot festivities. I know my place in this world, and it is not the Coke lot. No, having a little get-together on Saturday afternoon with some of the RAL and TNT iRacers and Indy Racing fan over at my house. So we're going to cook some pizzas, some burgers, and drink some beers.
That sounds wonderful. James Watson, what are you drinking, and will you be joining them?
I am drinking a special space-flavored Coca-Cola. No, I'm not making that up. There is an actual Coca-Cola Starlight that I found at Aldi's yesterday, and it's actually pretty good. It's a little sweeter than Coke. It doesn't have that weird Coke taste.
It doesn't have the cocaine flavoring.
It does not. And
I had the Coke Zero version of it, and I had to describe the flavor.
Yeah, it
tastes like stars, Mike.
Yeah, and I'm hoping to join them. I'm going to be a little late to the festivities. I won't be getting into the Indianapolis area till around 10, 11 o'clock at night on Saturday night.
It's funny. Ben, what are you drinking tonight, by the way? Ben? I think Ben died. He's not here.
He didn't have enough Starlight in his slushy beer.
Apparently.
If he keeps to the Shadow Jesus theme, he'll be back in 3 days.
He knows what Indy means then. He had to get resurrected in time for Carb Day.
We'll see if we can get Ben back. I have a 12-ounce Busch Heavy, and I am ready to open a 16-ounce Busch Heavy. I will let you know if there's a difference in flavor between the two.
I think it's just a third more heaviness.
Potentially.
I like how you've gone from Boddington's Pub Ale like earlier in the season to fuck it, Busch.
He had scotch multiple times too, and now he's like...
Well, no, it depends. Kind of what kind of night you're having. We're having a good week here. It's race week. You don't feel the need to drink heavily. 500 week is enough of a party. It's a natural stimulant.
And it's Top Gun Maverick release weekend. Like, it's all the American holidays in one.
Yes, it is. Because the first Top Gun did great opening on the 4th of July. Why not milk a few more weeks of summer movie screenings out of it?
And we may have Carb Day. That's not really the best part of Friday. We have Carb Night Classic.
Yes.
Yes, we do.
We'll get to that one. But first, let's talk to Connor Baldwin here. Connor, how you doing, bud?
That good, huh?
He
That
is
sounds
doing
great.
well also.
He's going to get resurrected in time, too.
Can you guys really not hear me?
Oh, now we can hear you, Ben. Ben, what are you drinking?
It's a...
All right,
He's
well,
risen.
3 minutes later instead of 3 days, but you know. Well, as I said, I did a whole spiel. Glad you guys heard it.
And the Lord works in mysterious ways, Ben.
Last can of my oatmeal stout 6-pack.
That just sounds like disappointment in a can.
It's really so good.
It sounds like our weather guy had a transformer blow. He says, much like Leclerc, he has no power.
Why? Ow, come on.
That
Welcome to the
bodes
Texas
very
power
well for
grid.
the weather this
That's
weekend.
mean.
Yeah, that's a preview of the weather that will be impacting Indianapolis over the next couple of days.
It's going to be a absolute pisser the next 48 hours.
Yes.
I actually mowed today because if I didn't, I wasn't going to be able to mow in time.
Potentially
We
even
just
washing out
turned this
Friday.
into a dad podcast. You know, weather, mowing, power grids. Like, what's next? Like
Beer.
the beer, the efficacy of roundabouts in traffic.
Oh my
patterns,
God, don't even
like-
get me started. I'm gonna be running for the bottle of scotch here shortly if you keep up the discussion of roundabouts. All right, so let's talk about last weekend. We saw stupidity, mainly from Takuma Sato. We saw some of the ballsiest driving in history from Sato and Jimmy Johnson. They both wrecked. In fact, Sato did wreck, but
They
he
just
finished
neither
the
one
run.
to hit anything. Yeah.
No, Sato hit the wall. He pancaked the wall and finished the run. It was impressive. What do we make of qualifying weekend, though? What are your overall impressions here? Mike, we'll go to you first.
Oh, I think we need to add VK to the ballsiest runs.
Hold on. You're a potato. Jason, let's go to you.
He's a potato.
And not the vodka kind either.
Not the good kind. I think, you know, I was really on the fence in the negative sense with regards to the change for the Quick 12 or whatever the branding on that thing was, and then the Fast 6 and the Rick Mears parade lap. And I was like, okay, this is just manufactured. But you know what? That was some of the most effective and engaging IndyCar television I've ever seen. And the viewership numbers bore it out. Up 50% year over year is absolutely stunning and stellar. And even with the return of the wife cam preventing another 1 million people from tuning in, it was still a really well-watched broadcast.
I don't understand your hate of wife cam. It's a tradition at Indianapolis.
Unlike any other.
I don't know. I mean, think about the history of things. Debbie Rahal and her reactions on race day. Chris Mears. Sandy Andretti was must-watch television.
So
If
the only
for
good
the resting
thing
bitch
about
face.
wife cam is it gives them an excuse to have a camera on pit road next to the wall that they can have the wife in frame, and then the cameraman can literally break his hip trying to keep the car in frame going down to give the ultimate sense of speed to the viewers. To me, that's the redeeming quality of wife cam, and the only one.
I don't know. I like it.
I think it's.
I think
good to
wives are
see
great.
I have a
Just not
wife
wife
with
cam.
me actually, so she can also give it giving her impressions of life game. Nope, I'm getting the big no.
That's not the first time today Mike's going to get the big no, by the way.
Mike, you're sleeping on
Ouch.
the couch at the Night's Inn tonight. And by the couch, I mean the floor.
All right,
Hotel room with a couch, and I will probably sleep on it tonight.
Mike, now that you're no longer potatoed, what do you make of qualifying weekend?
So I think we need to add VK to the list of ballsiest drives over the weekend.
Yes.
Hey.
I see what you did there.
I liked the format change because I think, Chris, you brought it up during the live stream that instead of talking about the guy who we know is not going to win the race most likely and the slow guys, we were talking about the fast guys all weekend. It wasn't about, hey, who's on the bubble, who's at risk of not making it, which is a very negative connotation, a very negative conversation to say, who's going home? Who's wasted the last couple of weeks versus who has done such a good job and who's the quickest guy here? I thought it was the right emphasis, that we put the emphasis on speed, and we saw speed. Dixon with the second fastest qualifying speed, the fastest front row since 1996. We saw an incredible display of speed over a weekend, and I thought it worked out really well. I'm really excited for I'm more excited for the 500 than I was, and I was already very excited seeing qualifying last weekend. I am ready to be there, and I can't wait for the 500 this weekend. I think it's gonna be fantastic.
Yeah, I think we're in for an epic race. But first, Ben, let's go to you here. What'd you make of qualifying this weekend?
Well, I think it just adds more proof to my long-held belief that Jimmy Johnson is the greatest racing driver of all time. But
way to stay on brand, Ben. Way to stay on brand.
I have a brand, and I'm going to stick to it. On a serious note, not that that wasn't serious, but on a more serious note, Ganassi is really freaking fast. Like, they got all 5 into the Fast 12, and they had 4 in the Fast 6, and if Jimmy had been able to set a lap, they might have had a different 4 in the Fast 6 because he could have bumped Kanan. I really think that Ganassi is going to figure something out, and they're going to be able to save fuel, run a team strategy for 150 laps, and then you're going to see a Ganassi car win. That's my takeaway.
We will get to the picks in a little bit here. But first, James Watson, what do you think? At least your guy was quicker than Jimmy Johnson.
Yeah, I'm happy to say he was at least the only Penske up there. That's a nice little thing to fall back on. Yeah, this leads to something I've been wanting to talk about for a while and wanting people to kind of look at. Is it me, or are we really not talking about the severe lack of speed that Penske has shown at the 500 the last few years? Because honestly, outside of Simon pretty much dominating 2019, the entire team has been pretty subpar at the 500. Like last year, none of them were anywhere. Same for 2020. 2019, outside of Simon dominating and Will kind of backing into a top 5, they haven't shown any speed at all. Like, it's
what does it
incredible.
say? Yeah, I agree, James. What does it say that ECR is routinely faster at Indy than Penske?
Yeah.
You know what? I don't know that you can say that ECR is faster than Penske at the Speedway means anything other than Carpenter is putting every ounce of effort they have into the Speedway. The rest of the season is nothing at Carpenter Racing.
I mean, Ed's whole identity is tied up with the Speedway and trying to win his 500 that we all expect him to do. So yeah, I think the Speedway is a bit of an outlier, and I think ECR isn't necessarily a bad team. I think, if we were to use kind of what, some of the Formula One terminology, right? ECR is kind of best of the rest in a lot of cases.
I think that's a fair, that's a fair way to say that.
I also think that Ed Carpenter is probably the one guy on the series that wants to see an all-oval IndyCar series more than I do. Again.
Yes.
He's the only guy.
We do need more ovals, but that's another discussion for another day. We've talked about how quick Ganassi is. We've talked about how Penske's off a little bit. But everything that we've heard and we saw in the practice reports says Penske is probably better suited to race conditions than they were the outright speed for qualifying day. That to me just says the race is going to be even more interesting because we have two of those cars, I should say, coming from fairly deep in the field. Nobody wants to take that bait, huh?
Nope.
We have all learned our lessons.
Yep. You can tell me I'm an idiot. I can hear my own voice in my ear, and it's driving me nuts.
It's Mike.
Did you get that looked at?
Yes, I hear voices.
I always knew you heard voices, man.
Discontinue the meds for a
crazy as
second.
the rest of us.
That's right.
Oh, okay. Hold up. What else are we thinking here, boys, as we head into race weekend?
So you know what I'm thinking?
What's that?
Scotty Mack just tweeted that he took all his family from New Zealand, who he hasn't seen in 2 years because of the pandemic, flew in last Friday morning for qual weekend, and he took them to St. Elmo's tonight to try the shrimp cocktail.
That's a little spicy. It'll warm me up.
That'll warm me up quick, but I love that Scotty Mack has embraced Indianapolis so much. I know he's living in the Carolinas, is where his home is, and he's got a victory sim rig, but the way he has embraced IndyCar racing is fantastic to see. You can't not root for that guy.
Yeah, it's quite frankly, there's a lot of good stories coming out of this race. Dixon,
are there any bad stories other than? No, there's no bad stories this year.
Sato was dumb. I will say Dalton Kellett's wreck in Monday practice. That team's got a lot of work to go.
But that's not necessarily a bad story because then it can become an underdog story, right? But it's a story. There's nobody that you look at and they're like, there's nobody playing the heel this month. There's just dozens of really great stories. Even Rahal hasn't shot off at the mouth this month.
But we've heard some stuff about Grosjean again.
Well, because Grosjean looked really out of his depth a few times, particularly on Fast Friday.
Yeah, that's putting it mildly, quite frankly. I guess it was Thursday that Grosjean was really uncomfortable. With quite frankly, the cars were just evil in those wins. But it sounds like we're going to see some of that this weekend, though. Not to the extent that we had on Thursday, but it's going to be windy. And you're talking completely different conditions when you put damn near 500,000 people in that place. Nothing. Again. We are in full Faxit-in mode here, people. We haven't even started drinking yet, or at least not that heavily.
We're all walking to the hotel. Even if we're not actually walking to the hotel, mentally we're walking to the hotel right now.
Yeah.
I need to know exactly what kind of hotel Mike is staying in Indy this week. Did he get the Red Roof Inn or an actual legit hotel?
Is it Howard Johnson?
I think there's only
Is it like a
one of those still in
Motel
existence.
There's one in Absecon, New Jersey. I can tell you that
apparently
for a
there's
fact.
2 of them because there's one in central Pennsylvania too, right near Harrisburg.
Maybe that is where he's
I think we lost Mike.
Yeah, he said he was going into the hotel, so he will be back.
Oh, got it. I missed
And
that
we
part.
Never
I was
heard
drinking.
from him again.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. No, I don't want to think about that.
What do we make of Pato and Felix Rosenquist's performance on Sunday? That one was kind of interesting to me because they were, speaking of, it's our 3rd resurrection of the show. This is the podcast coming back from the dead. Mike McCullen is joining us again. What do we make of Pato and Felix not making the Fast 6 after putting up 2 of the quickest times in the opening round of qualifications on Sunday?
I think it's because they have the worst liveries in the field.
Apron bad.
I don't know that I would read too far into anything in the Fast 12 itself, honestly. Like, I think if they make the Fast 12, yes, as a team, they're fast. But once you get into the Fast 12 and Fast 6 itself, it's so, like, everything is so very fine and precise. Like, I don't think you can really ding them. It's just, they have a fast car. Pato was fast last year. I don't think they're in too much trouble. And they do have Juan Pablo on that team, by the way, who looked faster, before all of his practices and qualifying were cut short.
Yeah, and then apparently he had a couple dozen cheeseburgers for lunch. And
he had the slow car syndrome on that team, but his car also races faster. It's like the year Ryan Hunter-Reay won, where he had the slowest car in qual and single car runs, but he had the best car in traffic and ended up winning the race. Like I would almost, actually, I will say this. I think JPM is going to finish ahead of Pato and Rosenquist on Sunday.
Write that down. Write
that down.
I mean, the biggest takeaway for me is they're not Ganassi cars, because like whatever Ganassi has going on right now, this past weekend is something extraordinary. Because what
that something extraordinary is? It's Jimmy Johnson.
And all right,
he's the 12th most extraordinary car in the field.
All right, let me offer up a hot take with my expert commentary. If Jimmy
Johnson has more wins at Indy than Ed Carpenter.
If Jimmy doesn't have to make that crazy save on lap 1, I feel like Jimmy makes it into the Fast 6.
Agreed. I think he will wear
that's
his
a very
laps
smart
for
opinion,
tracking.
James. I agree with you.
I knew you would like it.
I think Will Power gets too much criticism. I like Will Power.
Thank you.
Oh my God.
He did have a big
You guys
fall
want
off
to
on
join my hotel room?
Well,
You guys can have my room yourselves.
I've had the couch before, so.
There is a really nice drywall seam that they didn't tape well right across your ceiling.
Oh my
There.
God. Is that really what we're paying attention to?
The dad in
course it
Jason
is.
is coming out. He can't help
And
it.
I cannot
like, look at this
dissociate
drywall
myself from my dadness.
Drywall and spackle.
He's like, oh, we can patch that seam up.
My chair is very short.
This is so off the rails.
Join the club.
So bad.
No, but seriously
By the way,
though,
Jake,
like
to answer your question, I am
Go
staying
ahead.
in a True by Hilton downtown.
my favorite brand.
by Lucas Oil.
I actually.
You said a
Oh, you're already
Hilton.
in Indy? Oh no, where are
I'm
you
in
at
Buffalo
tonight?
right now. Yeah, I'm leaving for Indy tomorrow. I'm in Buffalo tonight.
Got it. That True by Hilton is a pretty decent hotel down there by Lucas Oil.
Why, thank you.
I say that as a
I look
true
forward-
Hilton Diamond member who is well versed in the different brands in the
That's
Hilton
not
portfolio.
a surprise in the slightest.
The dad antics continue
A diamond member at Hilton. That's not
as Jason
surprising at all.
extols the benefits of hotel.
Yeah, are we
Yep.
are we all shocked that Diamond Hilton member.
No, that's probably how he buys his house and his 10,000 wheels is using some sort of
He's
Hilton
just using Hilton points.
Yeah.
No, that's how we go on vacations. Is the Hilton points?
Yeah, I was gonna say no, James. You got it backwards. He buys the $10,000 worth of sim gear. It earns him 10,000 points on the credit card with the
Of
hotel
course.
attached to
It
it.
pays for
It
like
all
2
makes
weeks of
sense
hotel
now.
nights.
All right,
makes sense now.
let's.
The life hack.
We're
Let's-
so far off the
I was gonna
rails.
say, let's progress
We are doing.
to the end of
Classic
qualifying
pizza
here.
Pagoda.
Hey, by the way, Hilton Corporate, if you want to sponsor the podcast, we could be Pizza at the Pagoda, brought to you by.
Yeah, because
we're probably not fancy enough for like curio collection, but we
probably
totally
not
are like
fancy
the
enough.
Hilton Garden Inn of podcasts.
Yeah,
I think we're
Hilton
the
Garden Inn
some of
of
us can't
podcasts.
afford to vacate, so we need all the help we can get. Please, thank you, Hilton.
Holy crap!
We should
All
be
right.
I mean,
Pizza at the
that's a
Pagoda.
knock pick there, right? You got to tell Connor
gosh.
about that one.
We did make picks for Indy qualifications this past weekend. Let's
I don't
review
remember
those
that.
No, let's skip to the race
Yeah, why
picks.
don't we do that? 'Cause I thought my pick was good.
before
Let's
we
get to
get
the race
totally
picks.
off the rails here.
Oh,
So here's how we're scoring the points for Indy qualifications. Your winner, you got 12 points for first, 1 point for 12th. On the losers, 12 points for 12th, 1 point if that driver earned the pole. So it's basically like a freebie bonus weekend. And quite frankly, we were very mediocre in
As
our
we
picks
always
here.
are.
Pretty much. Ben took Jimmy Johnson as your pole winner. He qualified at 12th in the Firestone Fast 12. Great pick there, Ben. That earned him 1 solitary point. James, I wouldn't laugh, bud, because you took Will Power.
Yeah, but
Qualifying
let's wait till
11th.
we get to the anchovy. I get a whopping 2 points.
You got 2 points
Yes,
for Will
and I didn't
Power.
lose.
By
Jason
the way,
Owens
Will
taking
Power didn't make he didn't have a spin in qualifying. A near miss of a wreck. He was just that
Yeah.
slow.
yeah, he
he
was
had
slow. Jimmy Johnson wrecked.
Blame the
He just
gear
didn't hit
package for
anything.
that.
That was like he just went wide. Okay, it wasn't even a real like moment like Jimmy had. Let's not
He
compare.
had
the
his
two.
15 to 6 on the straightaways. That's not his fault.
Yes, it is.
All right.
Next.
Jason Owens took Ed Carpenter as your pole sitter. Ed having a very nice run to 4th place. That earns Jason 9 points. Mike McCullen, Scott Dixon, your new all-time fastest pole sitter at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Over 234 miles an hour. 234.046. The 4-lap average for Scott Dixon. The Iceman was hot on Sunday, man. That was unreal. And
He
I
enjoyed him some Taco Bell Sunday night.
Yes,
I know
he
that.
did too. He commented that the one he got robbed at was closed. Like the actual location is closed down. So he couldn't go to that one. They had to go to a different Taco Bell.
I
on
think he
Sunday
got
night.
the newly re-released Mexican pizza.
I don't know. I haven't had
What
one
do we
yet, though.
think Scott Dixon's standard order is? I'm gonna go with like a chili cheese burrito, a Doritos
Is
local
this really what we're doing?
and
Wow,
a chalupa
we're really at the
supreme.
bottom of the iceberg now, ladies and gentlemen.
Holy shit.
We're not doing good here.
The anchovy picks of the weekend. Ben took Roman Grosjean. Not a bad pick. Came home 9th in qualifying, earning Ben 10 points. James Watson took Jimmy Johnson, earning him a solid 12 points. So he's not going to
Woo!
lose much in terms of the point lead.
Don't call him a comeback. 'Cause I
Jason
was
Owens
never there in the first
took
place.
Tony Kanaan. DK qualified 6th, right mid-pack. Not a bad call. Earning him, let's see. Yeah, 6 points. Mike. We'll go to Mike. He took Takuma Sato, qualifying. Sato qualified 10th, earning Mike 10 points. And I had Marcus Ericsson qualifying in the middle of row number 2, rolling off in the 5th position, earning me a solid 5 points. So the qualifying winner, Mr. Mike McCullen with 22 points.
Woo!
Jason Owens and I tied at 15, followed by James and then Ben. So it doesn't really change things much in terms of the points here.
Every little bit matters, especially with double points this weekend.
Well, I was going to say the double points picks for this weekend are going to be a big deal here. What are we thinking here as what are we going to see on race day, guys?
I got a question first before we do that, Chris. Should we do the standard like newspaper clip out where we do pepperoni, anchovy, and have a first out pick?
No. That will confuse my spreadsheets.
Oh, okay.
And I don't want to keep track of it.
You could call it like a double pineapple.
Anybody that orders double pineapple on a pizza is actually just a communist. I'll stick to that, by the way. Nothing?
No.
Really gets nothing from you guys?
No, I'm actually confused. Like I'm looking at the live grid on the IMS website, and it currently shows that Steph Wilson is qualifying.
He's still qualifying. Yes, we're 4 days in to Steph Wilson's qualifying run. That's been blinking that way since like Sunday afternoon. Okay, so what do we see here? I mean, we have the crazy fast Dixon or Ganassi Armada led by Scott Dixon, Alex Palou, Marcus Ericsson, TK. Do they kind of gang up and try to run away with this? Are we going to see some craziness out of VK and Carpenter? It feels like the Speedway picks its winners. And sometimes that tone is set early. Sometimes we don't know who that's going to be until late in the race. What are we going to see here this Sunday? Mike, we'll start with you on that.
Yeah, I think, Dixon has said that, that he is, it's not fuel save this year. He is full speed ahead. He is ready to go. He doesn't want to, wait to have a strategy run. He really wants to, to go forward and go for a win. So I think we're going to see a charged up Dixon. And if he carries the type of day that we saw last weekend, a fired up Scott Dixon in a fast car is scary bad.
Scott Dixon earlier this week mentioned on the Peacock broadcast that he told Mike Hull, I'm done fuel saving. I'm done with strategy. It's time to go like hell. That's
scary. Very scary to hear.
If go like hell is 234 and he's turning 227 laps in the race, 225 laps in the race, you're out of there. That is completely different zip code from what everybody else is doing. Ben, you're probably the most allegedly expert of all of us here as our IndyCar writer for NRN. What do you think we see?
Honestly, I'm not really entirely sure what to think. I just think that I really don't know, because throughout qualifying, it's been the Ganassi and ECR show. And I don't know that that's really indicative of a race. And it's been that way. It's been the Sato and Ganassi show throughout practice. And I don't know if that's indicative of the race. But I think this is what we're going to look at. You're going to see Sato. You're going to see the Ganassi cars. You're going to see ECR up there again, like they were last year. And you're just going to see those guys trying to see, hey, do we get to the fuel strategy or not? Does it turn into a fuel strategy race? Do we see wrecks? We've only had one wreck the entire month. Well, not the entire month, but the entire oval practice, oval sessions. We've had one wreck, and that was as soon as they started doing race sims. We had one wreck, and it was Kellett.
Is that almost too clean?
It is.
It feels too clean.
Yeah.
I still don't know how Kellett got that. Like, I understand the arrow snap that he got. It's just, it looks almost like something you could have seen coming. Like,
he got that throttle off oversteer.
Yeah,
where the rear gets light and the front gets more downforce from the weight shift, and it went.
As soon as he tucked in behind, he just lost all.
But he didn't tuck in behind.
Grip.
He got outside, and all day long you'd seen a lot of guys on the inside back out there, and Grosjean did not back out. Like, didn't do the courteous thing. And that is not a blame at all because it's race practice. It's just saying you'd seen a lot of guys back out there, and maybe Kellett expected him to, and they both went for the same real estate, and Kellett trashed a car.
Yeah, I don't want to put blame on Kellett, but I want to put blame on Kellett. It feels like he could have avoided that. Like, it just feels like there's a lot of things where he could have seen that crash coming.
Yeah, well, especially knowing that he could see the rookie stripes on Grosjean's car in front of him.
And it's Grosjean, right? Grosjean's driven like this the whole year.
I will say
he's
this, though.
Never yielded.
Hindsight is always 20/20. But in some instances, backing out of that, the only way Kellett backs out of that is if he does it almost at the start-finish line.
Right.
You're not backing out a split second before you enter turn one. That's even worse than what happened, because then you're probably talking about taking out two cars in that instance. I'm still uneasy, though, about the lack of contact, the lack of issues that we've seen after the test when we had Will Power spinning, Elio spinning, and making pretty heavy contact. Herta put a car in the fence. It seemed like the entire oval practice was as much about don't wreck your stuff as it was really putting the gas down. It almost makes me question if have we seen the nuts out of everybody?
Yeah.
I think we have teams that are sleeping in a very big way.
I just think there's
I think you're right on there. Go ahead, Ben.
No, you got it. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think guys have been playing it safe this month. I mean, maybe it's, maybe we're just in for a year of, guys, not crashing stuff, but it does feel a little like, I don't know, it does feel a little like there's been conservative driving throughout the field. Like, we've seen, no real serious incidents other than Kellett, a couple of near incidents, the biggest thing involved. And I want to be really clear. It's not a bad thing that we're not seeing guys junk in equipment. It's not a bad thing that we're not seeing some of the horrifying crashes leading up to Sunday that we've seen in the past. That's not a bad thing at all. But I think you're right. I think some guys might have been playing it safe for the month, and yeah, I don't know. It'll be really interesting to see kind of how, when the first yellow comes out on Sunday, because we expect it. It doesn't seem like guys have been doing the dangerous stuff or the trying to find the limits that they've done in the past, right? We had those incidents, years ago, but even last year, I think with Karam and and Ferrucci and guys, making mistakes and kind of figuring out where the limits are before the race. Yeah, I don't know. I think it'll be interesting.
I'm reminded of one of the Delta Force intros. I want to say 91, maybe 1990. AJ Foyt talking about there's two kinds of guys that haven't been scared at the speedway. Those that haven't gone fast enough and those that haven't been hurt. We saw that out of Grosjean. We saw some spook in his eyes. He was definitely shook up leaving pit lane on Thursday. We haven't really seen that out of any of the younger crew. I'm thinking of guys like Christian Lundgaard, Kyle Kirkwood, Devlin DeFrancesco. those guys, I don't know they've tested the limits yet. And race day is not a real good time to try pulling that stunt off.
Yeah, so that's I think they fall into that first camp, right? Of the haven't gone fast enough. See, the thing is, Grosjean has gone fast. He's been hurt, right? I mean, it's sort of a famous thing now, right? He went into that fire and came out. He had that life and death experience right there. And now he's going this fast and he's really getting shook up by it. But I think Grosjean's a veteran. He can overcome that. It's gonna be the Di Francescos and the Lundgaards and the Malukases. Maybe not Malukas, because that kid seems like he's made of steel or something. But maybe not Kirkwood because he's just that talent. But these younger guys are gonna be a little freaked out. And they're gonna hang back the first 100 laps until we see them start making mistakes. And I think that's what it's going to be about. What is the rookie class this year? It's like 5, 6 rookies. What is it? Eilert, Lundgaard, Malukas, Kirkwood, Di Francesco, Grosjean, Johnson. Did I get them all? 7?
7.
Yes, 7 is the number of rookies this year.
And we can discount Jimmy and Grosjean from that because I think they have so much more experience.
I disagree.
But I'm saying from the Grosjean being spooked. Well, Grosjean from this. My point here is this. I don't think Jimmy is going to be as spooked by the speeds, by being around other cars this close. Because he's done this. He did it at Texas, and he got his adjustment over, and he's ready to go. I think Grosjean will pick it up quicker because he's got more experience. But I'm talking about these younger guys.
So as
we saw look at the mistakes we saw.
Yeah. As a resident Jimmy Johnson expert, do you think Jimmy might be overconfident and might try to do something with an Indy car that he would do with a stock car, and it's going to have disastrously different results?
No,
you at least think that's a
because that's not Jimmy Johnson. I think if you put Kyle Busch in that seat, then I would say yes. But we're just Jimmy Johnson. He made a career off of being do what the car can, Mr. Technical, Mr. Patience, Mr.
Be conservative, be patient.
I'm going to put the same lap in for 50 laps in a row, and I'm just going to beat you by pure consistency and talent.
I was going to say, Jimmy Johnson made a career out of 32nd or better to win the championship. He's, of the rookies, probably the most level-headed rookie that the Speedway has seen in a very long time.
I totally agree, Chris. Like, out of the rookies, he has and I'm not saying he will finish the best out of the rookies, but the way he approaches a 500-mile race and car updates and setup changes and progression and improvement through the race, coupled with how CGR has handled pit stops so far this year, I think he is most likely out of the rookies to finish in the top 5. Do I think he wins? I think it would be cool. I'd rather see him get like a 2, 3, or 4 and keep the bug and come back for another year. I think that's good for IndyCar. But I think he has the demeanor and the approach that he will be able to handle the ups and downs, the trials and tribulations and travails of a 500-mile IndyCar race that maybe a lot of the youngins and the other rookies won't. Like they talked about on Peacock, Jimmy Johnson has run to completion more 500-mile races in a racing vehicle than the rest of the field has combined in their racing careers. So from a mental aspect, you know that Jimmy Johnson is going to be there on lap 180 mentally and locked in. Now, does he have the car? Does CGR give him the car underneath him? I don't know. Is his body going to, like, to keep the Top Gun theme going, is his mind going to write some checks that his body can't cash? I don't know.
Everyone drinks for that.
You
And
went
by the way,
there.
I am drinking now.
I did go
I have a beer.
I was going to say,
Drink.
what are you drinking
I
now,
don't know,
Mike?
but I like it. I think
I'm
it's a
drinking
good.
a Yingling tonight.
Nice.
It's what
America's
my
oldest
fault when we
brewery.
stopped for gas.
Okay,
I think there's
let's-
a rookie. There is a rookie we haven't really brought up, and it's Devlin DiFrancesco.
Oh,
Uh-huh.
God.
This
Right.
is
So how many
Devlin.
cars is he going to wreck when he?
We're going to
when
get to
he's
him
wrecked?
in just a moment. Let's do a review of the field of 33. We'll start from row number 11. Some of these will be very quick. Some of these we might cover a little bit longer, but row 11, starting 33rd after not getting a qualifying time in. Another record breaker, the first driver in more than a century to run the Indianapolis 500 without qualifying for the race, Stephen Wilson. Middle of row 11, Jack Harvey. Inside of row 11, Christian Lundgaard. 2 Rahal Letterman Lanigan cars on the last row of the field.
Yeah, that's tough.
That's
I think
not
our
good.
silence says everything about how we feel about RL11 right
That's
now.
not good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Graham was pretty negative throughout almost every session, and considering how much we've heard by the broadcast about, well, Graham and Jack are just so on the same page. They really love the same things. And then you hear Graham just going, I hate this car. It sucks. It doesn't bode well for everybody else. It really doesn't.
Yeah.
And without your Sato there to really help you, the guy who's won it twice, I understand Graham's been here a lot. I understand he's good here, but
Can we say Graham's not a winner?
he's
What's
a
it
very
been? A decade?
Yeah, I think the bigger concern for me is with all the investment that Hy-Vee is making in the sport, that Jack Harvey is not living up to the level of investment that Hy-Vee is making.
Jack
That
Harvey
just
did
means
nowhere
Hy-Vee
this
will
year.
cut the checks to somebody else next year.
I sure hope so, because I
Hy-Vee
love
should go to
everything that I
ECR.
see with Hy-Vee.
All right, let's move up to row number 10, and I will ask the question this way. Is there one or two drivers capable of winning the 500 lining up on the 10th row? Juan Pablo Montoya in 30th, Dalton Kellett in 29th in a very much repaired race car, and Kyle Kirkwood inside of row number 10.
I think we could see. This is not a prediction. I'm just saying that I would not be surprised if we saw a furthest back starter to win the race this year than we have since like 1932. And we'll get to Elio in the next row, but Kirkwood or JPM, if they can get the pit stops right and they can make some passes, I think both have an opportunity to win, especially how Kirkwood's car looked in traffic this month.
Yeah, Kirkwood would tie the record for furthest back starter, held actually by Ray Haroon.
But they started 5 wide that year, so does it really count?
Well, he was the deepest starter in the field at 28th to ever
True.
win the race. So Montoya would break that record, and we've seen him come from back to front. His second win, he was 33rd, 30 laps in?
Yeah.
I mean, literally, you could have pulled a pill and said, Juan, you're starting 33rd. All right.
I don't think he cares where he
that
starts.
guy. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Now we're going to move up to what is quite possibly the best row 9 in the history of the race at this point. Elio Castro Neves, a 4-time winner of the 500, starting on the outside, and a guy who has tied with Scott Dixon the most second place finishes in 500 history. Elio has 4 wins and 5 second place finishes.
He has the highest average finishing position of anyone that started more than 5 races, if I recall correct.
Yes.
Yeah.
The guy is a machine at the Speedway. We can't count him out. The middle of row 9, starting 26, Scott McLaughlin for Team Penske. And inside of row 9, Colton Herta, rolling off 25th. 3 potential race
look
winners
at
in
the
that
row
row.
they have in front of them to contend with at the start.
I could just see Herta say, I'm going to go full iRacing here. Can I just start from pit lane? I'll just roll out after they pass. We'll be good.
I mean, he's got Sage and DeFrancesco in the row in front of him.
You know what? Sage Karam is we'll move up here to row 8. Devlin DeFrancesco outside, Marco Andretti in the middle, Sage Karam on the inside. Sage Karam is my dark horse pick to win the 500. If he can keep the race car under him, he is incredibly fast at the speedway.
Is there anyone less likable in the field than the combination of Sage Karam and Ferrucci? Like,
I will hold my tongue.
yeah, I think everybody is.
No, we want to hear that. I want to hear this. Yes, Karam comes off a bit douchebaggy. Okay, a lot douchebaggy. As does Santino Ferrucci. We'll get to him in a little bit. When you're talking about picking winners and losers, I really don't care how douchebaggy you are. If I had to pick Michael Andretti or the field every year that Michael ran, I want Michael Andretti.
Well, not at Indy.
Absolutely at Indy. Until he left, honest to God, you had to say every year you went into the speedway going, it's his year. It's got to be his year.
Well, not until he changes that name. Little Andretti joke. Speaking of Andretti, they have the most dislikable driver in the field right now.
Oh, wait.
Marco Andretti?
No, actually.
But Marco's the only IndyCar driver that has ever blocked me on Twitter.
I might be the only person Marco hasn't blocked, and that's only because I don't say anything.
Okay. How important is it for Marco Andretti to maybe get a 500 win? Is there a story that puts IndyCar on the front page of every newspaper more than Andretti wins 500?
Jimmy Johnson wins 500?
Yeah. Or Romain Grosjean wins 500. One of those two. But I think Grosjean more for international appeal, which I kind of hope doesn't happen, because then you have to deal with all the idiotic F1 fans going, see, it's not that hard. See, he was terrible in F1. He didn't get 9 podiums at all. It's like he raced for the worst team in modern history. I have no fucking thoughts. You know, F1 fans and NASCAR fans are very alike. They only think about one kind of motorsport, and they don't think about anything else, and they sit there and go, oh, but you didn't do it here. We're so great.
I mean, I've seen plenty of IndyCar people also have the same. I think all fan bases are really terrible when it comes to that, and it's something that has always annoyed me.
James, I haven't heard your voice in like 30 minutes.
I was going to say, I can't believe James is still driving something on iRacing.
I was about to say, like, what 82 series did he run a race in over the last 37 minutes?
And then come back.
We've covered row 8. Let's move up to row number 7. Is there a potential race winner in this row? Graham Rahal starting on the outside, Alexander Rossi in the middle, Callum Ilott rolling off 19th inside of the 7th.
There's not. Because Alexander Rossi has... Okay, I would say that is more likely. But Alexander Rossi has Brian Barnhart on his box. There's 0% chance that any car with Brian Barnhart calling strategy will win the Indianapolis 500. Full stop.
I 100%
How is the great Brian Barnhart still employed? I know some of you guys don't go far enough back in this. Robin Miller's mailbag years ago, it literally was TGBB. When you were talking about race control, it was the great Brian Barnhart. He went from Jackman at Penske to IndyCar race director. No stops in between.
No stops in between. Chris,
career path. He still jacks things up.
still jacks things up. But it's hilarious today in a group chat. I said Brian Barnhart is the embodiment and proof that book, The Peter Principle, is true.
Failing Upward. The Brian
Failing
Barnhart
Upward
story.
is actually, that's going to be the name of the Brian Barnhart movie, is Failing Upward. There you go, Hollywood. We made it for you.
Does anybody come shake his hand if Rossi manages to win on Sunday?
Despite.
No, because they all know that Rossi would win in spite of him.
I mean, literally, guys, to give you the history here, Brian Barnhart made a show of himself on qualifying weekend. Every driver, before they went out on the racetrack, the camera would have to get way zoomed in on the cockpit, like holding the camera in the cockpit so you could hear the conversation. And Barnhart would reach in and give him like the bro handshake and be like, all right, bud, give me 4 good ones now. And then it would be time for the car to go out.
To be clear, this is the same Brian Barnhart that sent the field green at New Hampshire Motor Speedway while it was raining and they were on slicks at an oval. So,
yes,
like,
but it gave us the greatest, the
greatest gift
in all
in
time.
the history of gifts.
The willpower double bird was actually directed at Brian
Barnhart. Right.
Yep.
He needs, you know what? He's getting an episode.
He should have an iceberg episode.
Okay, we'll break this news now here, middle of the podcast. We are doing a series of videos for YouTube on some of the coolest stories surrounding the Indianapolis Motor Speedway and the IndyCar series. One will be premiering on Friday. That's the Records That Could Be Broken episode. And then we're going to have them coming out one a week over the next handful of weeks. One on the Jigger Award and Jigger Saras, the unluckiest guy in the history of the Speedway. Worse than anything the Andretti's have ever done. Also, Jim Neighbors, and one on Cyrus Patchkey, a guy with no starts, 1 win, and 2 top 5 finishes. And he only ever competed in the 1911 Indy 500. Do the mental gymnastics there.
No, it's a good story. He also ran out at Jogo Park, I think, a little bit later in life.
Yep. He ran some pretty insane places, quite frankly.
Really, like, that was a dude that would run anything that would murder him.
A 24-hour race at the Altoona board track.
Well, did he eat the pizza?
I doubt Altoona pizza was a thing then. That's
Row
a pizza
5.
reference, by the way. We can't have those on this show. Row number 6. I think we have 3 possible race winners here.
Row 6, please, when Hildebrand was like a whole lot of numbers to 1, I put a couple bucks on Hildebrand. If he wins, I win 10 grand. So I'm all in on the Hildebrand win.
Row 6, outside, Connor Daly. He is always quick at the Speedway. J.R. Hildebrand, maybe the second unluckiest guy ever at the Speedway. And inside,
if they called the caution
Simon Pagenaud,
properly, he would already have a win.
Yes. But again, Brian Barnhart doing Brian Barnhart things.
Yep.
The car was over pace car speed, and J.R. Hildebrand would be a 500 winner in a wrecked race car.
I like that we let that marinate twice.
Pain. It still hurts. It still hurts.
That would have been one of the best stories ever at the Speedway. And in hindsight, it turns into one of the greatest stories in the history of the Speedway. But Mike, I want to hear your thoughts here on Connor Daly.
Yeah, No. So my thoughts on Connor, he has been quick at the Speedway, obviously set the fastest recorded trap speed we've seen. But then he just seemed like he was kind of nowhere on Saturday. and you've got Ed and Renus, in the Fast Six, and then Connor is kind of nowhere, and I'm just wondering what they got wrong with that car. And it sounded
The
like
draw.
The draw. He had the hottest track temp of any ECR car by like 8 degrees over Ed.
Yeah.
So if he's got the kind of speed that Renus and Ed have, as long as he can keep it out of other people's messes, because I imagine there's going to be messes in front of him.
Yes.
Yeah. If Connor has somehow managed to exercise his bad luck and has passed it all off to someone else in the field, he could be bad fast. But it's I'd like to see Connor win, right? As somebody who shares the same medical affliction as Connor Daly, having him win 500 would be a huge thing for me. I'd love to see him win. I'm concerned that he just didn't seem to be there on Saturday. But if we're thinking it's weather related and he just got a bad draw, we might be in for a pleasant surprise there.
He was hosed by the draw.
So Mike, we've got a work event tomorrow where JR is coming into the office and is going to fundraise for T1D.
Fantastic.
Which is fantastic. But I also wanted to make sure that you also rooted for JR so that he could win.
In easily the most Connor Daly paint job in the field, by the way. But it's being piloted by JR Hildebrand.
That's actually a really good call. I mean, the way that flag is on the car, that is the mullet-laden Indy car in this field. The way the flag drapes across it.
Yes, I love the paint job for JR Hildebrand. What would garner a larger crowd reaction? Connor Daly winning the 500 or his boss winning the 500?
His boss, 100%.
Yeah,
you think so?
Yeah.
I think Ed by just a little bit. I think by a decibel, Ed.
Yeah.
I think the only thing with JR,
they still blow the roof off the place if he does.
Either way,
absolutely.
it's a native son, either adopted or native Hoosier, because Ed was not born in Indiana. Most people don't know that, but we still claim him.
Does he count?
He counts.
Yeah, he counts. You got to take what you can get when you live in Indiana.
I mean, we're not Ohio.
If Connor wins, the town of Speedway burns. If Ed wins, Indianapolis burns.
Central Indiana is burnt to the the entirety of the 9-county metro area turns into the Coke Lot Sunday night if Ed wins the 500. It will be the largest Coke Lot in Indy 500 history.
If Connor Daly were to win, he would become the first Indiana native to win the 500 since Wilbur Shaw in 1940.
That's an insane statistic.
That's a crazy statistic.
Yes, the place would go nuts. Now that we've completely ignored Simon Pagenaud,
I was going to get to that
in the last couple of years. Go ahead, Ben.
I was just going to say that MSR has looked really terrible. There's really no way around it. Meyershank has just not looked good at all.
They've got the leftover scraps from Andretti, Technical Alliance.
And I don't know how much Elio and Simon, who are arguably two of the greatest at the Speedway, Elio obviously one of the greatest of all time at the Speedway. Simon is obviously no slouch. I don't know how much they can do to help this by the race, but it doesn't look good for them, which is kind of disappointing.
Do we think there's any merit to the, I'll say, whispers that have been heard that after last year and the reaction to Meyershank winning, that maybe the spigot turned down a little bit on that Andretti Technical Alliance with Meyershank, at least when it comes to the Speedway?
That sounds an awful lot about what we heard with Gibbs and Furniture Row after Truex won his in the 78. That kind of sounds awfully familiar.
They've been really bad this year. Everywhere.
It's a bit conspiracy theorist, but yeah, I could see it. That wouldn't surprise me at all if suddenly Andretti started sending the less great dampers off to Meyershank.
You're not talking about being off by much. You're talking about being off by tenths of a percent in terms of our best stuff is at 100%. We're going to give these guys the stuff that's 99%
We're going to give them
of the way
3.9 stuff.
That's not the same as the best stuff you have. Now, at the same time, Andretti has been off as well.
Yeah, so 3.9s off Andretti puts you where you have Pagano and Elio.
Bingo. All right, but we got to move along here. We're already almost an hour and 15 minutes in here. Row number 5, we're going to ignore the outside and inside of the row. I'll explain why in a second. Santino Ferrucci starting on the outside. Joseph Newgarden lining up in the middle of row 5. David Malukas inside, lining up in the 13th position. Roger Penske has fired drivers in the past that he felt couldn't win at the Speedway. Tom Sneva won a national championship and was fired the same offseason by Roger Penske. Gary Bettenhausen, one of the fastest guys ever at the Speedway, was fired by Roger Penske because he felt his sprint car activities hurt his performance at the Speedway. If Newgarden doesn't win, or at least perform very well, is he on a bit of a hot seat?
No.
Are you saying that it's a kinder, gentler Roger Penske?
I'm saying that for one, Roger Penske isn't the absolute god and all end all at Penske racing. I think maybe Tim Cindric would kind of go, Roger, no, we cannot do that. We cannot get rid of Joseph Newgarden.
Let's not forget that Montoya was fired like a season after he almost led the points the entire season, but the last race. So I wouldn't exactly put it past them.
Pagano was done at Penske until he swept the month of May. Will Power was on a very hot seat until he won the 500.
Yeah, but those guys haven't won 2 championships in the last, 4 years?
But they've won championship for Roger before.
Yeah, but Joseph is, I'm what IndyCar driver is more complete and better than Joseph? It's tough to make an argument.
Would you swap Joseph Newgarden for Kyle Kirkwood if given the chance?
I don't know.
I don't know if I'd swap for Kirkwood, but there's a rumor about an Andretti driver being on the market next year who has signed a contract.
I would swap him for Herta.
Rossi?
I would swap him. No, not in a million years.
Not anymore. Maybe if this happened a couple years ago, I'd say Rossi was a potential front runner for a Penske seat until the last few seasons happened.
I could see it maybe in 2016. Once Newgarden won those championships and Ross started choking him, you get that line. But my larger point here, I don't think that Roger, and especially not everyone around Roger in the C-suite of Penske Racing, is going to let him get rid of Newgarden because he can't win a 500. Newgarden is clearly good at ovals. He just hasn't had the luck of the draw yet. Look how long it took TK. Look how long it took Power. Look how long it took Dixon. Right? I don't really think you can, especially not in this
have gotten worse. The closest he's been, he had a third back when he was with Ed, back in 2016, and then a couple of fourths, an eighth, and then it's just a 12th and 12th and
which leads me back to my earlier point. how bad is Penske at the Speedway all of a sudden?
I don't know.
think
I feel like Ed can trim better than Roger. You know what I mean? Like the trimming, the speed. ECR's always been very, very good at that. VK was on the front row last year. Ed was fourth last year. But Penske, I don't know. I just feel a bit of race.
Are you saying that Ed's team can build a setup in a car for qualifying and then kind of screw it up on race day? Is that what I'm?
That's what they did in Barber.
I mean, that is what they did at Barber. But I think the ECR team maintains so much institutional knowledge from the IRL days when all of those cars were basically the same from an aero brick perspective and from a motor perspective, that they have a setup book on mechanical grip maximization and mechanical drag reduction that is significantly better than anyone else's in the paddock. And it is a direct result of how they dominated in the IRL days, and that is different than how most of the other teams achieve their speed at the Speedway.
Let's not forget last year, Connor Daly led the most laps of anybody in the race last year.
And until Graham Rahal's crew forgot how to put a wheel nut on, Connor may have been on the trajectory to win the race.
He was. He was a little bit alt strategy, but that car was the race winning car last year.
That car was quick.
It was impressive.
And I'm kind of looking, historically, since about 2015 or so, really after that, Penske has had a car at the Speedway that's great, and the others are kind of mediocre. Like, 17, Castro Neves is in second, and then you've got a 14th, a 19th, a 23rd, and a 6th. 18, Power wins it, and then you've got an 8th, a 27th, and a 6th. 19, when Pagano won it, 4th, 5th, and 18th. 2020, 5th, 11th, 14th, and 22nd. 2021, 12th, 20th, 30th, and 3rd. Right? It seems like there's one car in the Penskes that has it, and then there's the others that just don't. So, is that Power this year?
Well, and bringing things back to Newgarden, last year finished 12th after starting 21st. His prior finishes, 5th, 4th, 8th, 19th for Penske. He gets the car to the end in the vast majority of his 500 starts. He's only DNF'd twice, dating back to 2012. It just feels like there's a difference between guys that you look at that can win at the Speedway and guys that you go, yeah, they ran here a lot.
I mean, look at Ed. Like, other than 2020, which time of year was different from the setup book and the incident early in the race, like, he's got, like, a 2nd, a 6th, a 5th. Like, other than that, his worst finish is what, like, an 11th?
31st.
No, other than
Didn't he
other
wreck
than
that
2020.
year too?
Okay, Carpenter has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 top 10 finishes.
Yeah, the 31st was in 2016.
Career starts.
That's pretty darn good. Like, and I have the front wing off the second place finish car up in my office here. There is a giant hole right through part of the wing where either a wheel nut or a piece of crash debris went through the wing and took the downforce off. And he's talked about how after they drove through the debris from that wreck, he didn't have the speed that he had before. And it's like, we talk about how the Speedway chooses the winner, right? Like, that one little thing and it's like, I'll send you guys some pictures. Like, it's like a 1 inch by 2 inch chunk just out of the top of the front wing. That amount of downforce differential takes a potential race-winning car to a second-place car. And it's why 500 miles at this place is absolutely magical.
Let's progress
What
forward
even
here.
row are we on at this
We're going
point?
to basically
going to
ignore
row
the fourth
4.
row. We're almost going to ignore the fourth row, only because we've talked about him so much.
Right.
Jimmy Johnson starting outside of row 4 in 12th. Will Power starting middle of row 4 in the 11th position. Inside, Takuma Sato will roll off in the 10th position.
Real quick.
Yeah.
Do we think Sato has a race-winning car?
Yes.
Yes.
I will put money on Takuma Sato to win the 500 because you're dumb not to.
Do we think
Put $10
DCR has a race-winning team?
Yes.
Yeah.
We all agree?
Maybe.
Okay, moving on. That's all I wanted to get.
I tell you what, I would love to see Dale Coyne in Victory Lane at this.
I think it would be
He
phenomenal.
would lose his mind.
It would be
He
freaking
might
awesome.
actually die right there on pit road.
Oh,
It-
no.
it
His
wouldn't
life
be-
is complete.
It wouldn't be like Mike Shank orders 72 cases of beer to get to his house. It would be like 800 like Magnum champagne bottles that Dale Coyne is simultaneously firing off all around Victory Lane.
To have Mike Shank, then Dale Coyne win in 2 consecutive years would be freaking awesome.
It would be incredible.
That would be just.
Oh, I do
pure
have one
American
thing that I
race
meant to
sport.
say. When we went through row 5, row 5 is the best hair row in the entire field.
I'm sorry, did you
Between
see who was in row
Malukas,
5?
Newgarden, and Ferrucci.
You said best.
Best, yes.
Yeah, Ferrucci's in there.
So I take it you don't agree.
No.
All right. We're going to take the front 3 rows as a block here. Because quite frankly, you're now into the territory of every one of these guys can reasonably expect to drink the milk on Sunday afternoon.
Well, 8 of them.
Roman Grosjean starting 9th outside of row 3. Felix Rosenquist, middle of row 3. Hato O'Ward in 7th inside of row number 3. Row 2, Tony Kanaan on the outside, Marcus Ericsson in the middle, Ed Carpenter on the inside. And on the front row, the fastest front row in history, Renus VK, Alex Palou, and your 234-mile-an-hour man, Mr. Scott Dixon. Ben, you say all but one. Who is the one that does not have a shot to win?
Same one that I've been rooting against the entire month of May.
Willpower.
It is Roman Grosjean.
He will not
You just
deliver
don't
a
like the
victory.
French.
I'm
Angry
interested
French
to
guys.
hear the opinion here, though.
I
What?
like Pagenaud. Pagenaud is one of my favorite IndyCar drivers.
What is it? Is it from a you just don't like the guy, or is there something in the team, the car?
There's
He's
two
going
whatever.
full Graham Rahal.
There's 2 parts. Part number 1 is admittedly a little Americanisms, but I just don't think he really gets it yet. I don't think it's just sort of this gut feeling of I don't think he gets IndyCar. I don't think he doesn't know what Indy means, to quote Little Al. He doesn't know what Indy means. He
Neither
found
did
out
Alexander
a little bit.
Rossi.
Yeah, I
And
I
yeah, I
think
don't like
he's
people
learned.
winning on their rookie shot, and I'll exclude Jimmy from that because I think if there's one thing you can
Oh my
say,
God! Of course you will. All right,
Wow.
let's
Just
there's an
Wow.
actual technical. There's a real reason
okay.
to this. There is a real reason. It's not just me being a hater, and it's that I don't think Roman Grosjean has the experience in these races. He doesn't have one. I just don't think he has that mentality yet.
He's
for
never
The
Indy
guy
done
has
overall
2
anything
racing.
oval
close.
races. He's
Now
never
I
done
can
anything
kinda get
close to
behind
this.
that.
Like
I think out of the top 9,
you wouldn't expect
He's the-
Malukas or yeah, we think Kirkwood has a fast car and he is fast, but there's a reason his odds are so high. He's a
but
rookie.
Kirkwood's also done dozens more oval races in his career.
Also
than
true.
Grosjean. This
But
is
not at-
literally
not at the
Grosjean's
speed, but you
3rd
get the
professional
point.
oval race.
And
Right.
let's
But
also mention that all of those guys have not done anything close to 500 miles.
Yeah.
The closest they've been is 275 at Texas.
This is
yes,
different.
that is physically demanding. It is not
What
the
would
same.
Grosjean have to do to prove that he knows what Indy means, right? He comes
Lose
over
in
here. He
heartbreaking
doesn't
fashion.
run ovals. He doesn't. he
Jeez.
doesn't run
serious.
ovals last year, and then he sees the 500. And he goes, "You know what? I want to do that." He didn't experience it until he experienced it in person. He's like, "I've got to do that." Like, I think he gets it. I think he knows what it means. He's embraced IndyCar. He's embraced America.
If he loses in heartbreaking fashion this year, like he comes like I don't know, he gets held up by a lap car on the last lap, and
Okay.
Marcus Ericsson of all people passes him, and then he cries getting out of the car. I will fully admit that he knows what Indy means.
Honestly,
I just have a tough time believing.
honestly, as crazy as that sounds, that makes perfect sense to me. And I'm gonna share some information. I was kind of in that boat until that happened. Like, I've been around IndyCar for most of my life, but I had kind of, now this is going to sound blasphemous here, being on an IndyCar podcast around people from Indiana, but I knew that Indy was special and it meant a lot, but I didn't really personally put it as the top race until I lost an IndyCar race at Indianapolis in heartbreaking fashion, and it punched me in the gut, and that's when I knew what Indy means. So, as weird as that sounds, what you say, Ben, makes absolutely perfect sense to me.
I don't know.
That's kind of disturbing. But
I think there is a serious mechanical thing of just he doesn't have the oval experience, and Andretti is Andretti, and they will Andretti this.
Well, I was going to say, you're going to make what, 8 pit stops or so? 6 pit stops over the course of 500 miles?
6 cars. They have 6 cars.
That's at least 30 chances for Andretti to light somebody on fire.
But he is close to 50.
I thought the 26 car is the one that gets set on fire.
Colton Hurd
Also,
crossing his fingers.
Rossi has had 5.
There's a
different
Bicalis
pit
in this
stops
race.
I think Grosjean is the odd man out of that top 9. It's kind of
Ben doesn't get that joke because he doesn't like sports cars, Jason.
I got the Bicalis joke.
All right.
It
is time for us to do picks. We're already 90 minutes into this dumpster fire.
We need to because I have work tomorrow.
Let's make our picks for the winner and the anchovy of the Indianapolis 500, the 106th running of the greatest spectacle in racing. God, it just makes me happy to say that. It's freaking 500 weekend. Woo! Let's take a look here at the point standings to recap after the Indy qualifying runs here. Your points leader still James Watson.
Yeah, boy.
Second, Mike McCullen. Ben Carswell, Jason Owens still locked in a heated battle for the final podium position. And I am bringing up the rear of the field, but this is the big chance. It's a double points weekend here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. I will again defer. I will pick last. So that means we are going to go to Jason Owens. You have $10,000 riding on this. But at the same time, you have a points championship to think about.
Which one's really more important?
At Indy this weekend?
Oh, we're doing winners first. I'm going to take
winners
Ed.
first.
Ed?
He brings it home.
Taking Ed.
Are you going to take anybody other than Ed until he wins one?
At the 500? Hell no.
Let's see. Next up on the list will be Mike McCullen.
Oh. Hello. He almost won it last year. He said that he he knows what he did wrong last year, and now he's got the experience to do it again. I think Palou is a good choice.
And Alex Palou signed like a 6-year-old's forehead the other day after qualifying on Sunday. Caused a bit of consternation amongst the assembled media watching Alex Palou sign this young child's forehead. I think he made a great life choice there. Next up on the list, Ben Carswell. Are you really going to be dumb enough to take Jimmy Johnson to win the 500?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
I can't believe you guys are going to do this.
Ken.
You know I have real money on him too, right?
I'm sure you do.
And I will note, by the way, that I put that money on him directly after Texas. Not that I wouldn't have anyway, but I put it on him after Texas. 60-1 odds. He's now plus, Jason might know it better than I do, but I think he's around 1,800 now. He's either 18-1 or 20-1 now.
Yeah,
His
he's
odds
all the
have
way under
shrunk.
20-1.
I was ahead of the
You
curve.
got him at
I
60 to
invested
1 was smart.
60-1.
You can probably cash out for plus right now.
They won't let me
All right,
cash out. Otherwise, I
James.
would have, because that'd be sick.
Are you sticking with your man?
Do you even have to ask?
Willpower?
Stand by your man.
Ride or
Okay.
die, baby. I'm a ride or die.
Alrighty.
Let's just take a look here, though, and recap who has not been picked yet.
Scott
Two-thirds
Dixon.
in the front row. Scott Dixon and Renus VK.
Expert commentary.
Can we
people,
just
expert
appreciate that
commentary.
we got a Tammy Wynette reference into this
You guys
podcast
do whatever.
You
after
sang it like Hillary
I
Clinton.
98
think I'm
minutes.
the only one trying, and I'm not using my heart to pick, and I'm using some intelligence. Because my heart would pick Connor Daly, but Alex Palou actually has a chance.
But
to
that's
win.
not a bad pick.
neither one of those is a
I
bad
was gonna
pick,
say,
and it means you know
Palou's
what
a
Indy
better
means,
pick.
Mike.
we have ignored row
be
number
clear.
2 almost entirely. Marcus Erickson and Tony Kanaan. The entirety of row 3. But we got 2 picks out of row 4.
Well,
Well, that's because we have no faith in AMSP to have any kind of race day adjustments.
Yeah.
I am really torn here. Scott Dixon would be the easy pick. Renus VK, my gut says the kid's going to win one on Sunday.
It's
Either
not a
one of
bad
them.
pick either. There's 18 cars that wouldn't be a bad pick in this field. It's absolutely insane to try and pick who's going to win this year.
The crazy thing is that even though James and I are obviously being completely and totally biased, they're not bad picks.
No,
Will Power is
Wait,
not a
so
bad
is
pick.
mine a bad pick then?
No, that's
no,
the thing.
it's not a bad
Oh,
pick either.
It's
Like,
not
none
a
of
bad
them are
pick at
bad
all.
picks.
He's starting
Okay.
4th.
We have had almost everybody go with their heart, except for Mike, the heartless bastard over there. I will also go with my heart on this one. And the American Legion Honda of Tony Kanaan will pull into victory lane on Sunday.
It's going to break my heart when he's actually somebody's anchovy for you, Chris.
You know what? The place will go ballistic if TK wins.
Actually,
Of course it would.
considering
It-
Chris's history, you should pick TK as your anchovy.
You probably should.
No, it's,
Tony, I'm
it's
sorry.
absolutely amazing. Tony Kanaan is the most adopted Hoosier of all time. He literally could run for mayor in Indianapolis and would be elected without even a vote. That's how much the people of Indianapolis love TK.
Yeah.
Even more so than Elio. Indy does not appreciate tax fraud.
mhm.
That's not
Didn't
very
commit
Hoosier of
tax
you.
fraud. That is on our list of iceberg topics to cover, by the way,
Does Indianapolis
The tragedy
appreciate dancing with
of
the
that
stars?
entire story. I doubt it. All right, it is time for the anchovies. Jason Owens, who is the biggest anchovy of the Indy 500?
Oh man, this is actually super hard because there's like a handful of guys that you could think could be first out. There's some guys you think could run well and end up bending it. I'm actually going to go with Felix Rosenquist as my anchovy.
That was on my list.
Again, from the whole not a bad pick department.
Not a bad pick.
Not a bad pick whatsoever there.
He was on my short list of anchovies for this weekend. I just something always goes wrong for Felix. I mean, literally every race, something goes horribly wrong where you just go, damn it, he was doing so well. Every race.
He is and has appeared to inherit the John Andretti luck, which, if it weren't for bad luck, he would have none at all.
Yeah, no, that is how Felix seems.
That is absolutely appropriate there, Jason. That's a great call. Mike, who is your pick for the anchovy of the 500?
Oh, there's so many.
Yeah, you've put zero thought into this beforehand. As he looks down the starting grid, going, "Who should I pick?"
So I feel like the anchovy is gonna come from row 8. I feel like Marco's too easy. I feel like DeFrancesco is too easy.
Sage is probably the highest opportunity first out. He either finishes high or he's first out. So
yes,
it's not a bad call.
Yeah, it's not a bad call, but I don't know if he's always first out. I don't know if this is the year that he
would that. Well, you see, that also raises the question of, is it really an anchovy then?
Yeah, because the trick is you don't want to pick someone that always sucks.
I mean, you could always go with the guy that has Brian Barnhart on his box.
That's too easy. I feel like at this point, Rossi's so beaten down, it's just punching down at him.
You remember last year when
the other question could be, how many cars does DeFrancesco take out in a wreck? And does that make him the
I think DeFrancesco is going to stink it up this weekend, for sure.
He takes the chalk pick twice.
He takes the Canadian.
He takes chalk and bagged milk.
Hey, I'm in it to beat James here. Like I'm in it for this points championship. I don't care about the rest of you. I want to win something. Goddammit!
That's awesome. I don't know what you're going to win, but okay. Ben, who will be the anchovy of the weekend?
Well, originally I was going to go with Felix Rosenquist. That was my plan. That was stolen from me. I considered some other names. I considered Graham Rahal, but considering how horrible he's been this weekend, I expect him to be horrible in the race. So I'm not sure that's really an anchovy. I don't know. I was looking, and then it kind of hit me.
Phoenix.
No, I'm not, because I've shit on him enough.
Put your pick where your mouth is.
Going full Amber Heard here.
No, because I did that in qualifying, and it didn't work. I'm going to go with Marcus Ericsson. He has been at nearly the top of almost every practice session. He qualified 5th. If he doesn't finish top 5 or top 3, is it a bad run? If he finishes like 13th, do you sit there and go, dude, you had one of the fastest cars?
You know
I think it depends on the circumstances, but maybe.
I do.
Marcus Ericsson has 3 career top 15 starts at the Speedway, a best finish of 11th, and an average finish right around 23rd.
Damn.
Yeah, so if you have one of the top 5 fastest cars of the month and you finish in the bottom half of the field, that's arguably an anchovy. So I don't think it's a bad
Look,
pick.
if TK goes and finishes in the bottom half of the field, you're
that's
like,
without a doubt an anchovy if TK finishes in the bottom half of the field.
His run last year was an anchovy.
All right, James, it is your turn here.
Colton Herta.
Why do you keep picking him? Let him live his life.
Because he knows Herta's going to be first out on lap 7.
When his engine
The
blows.
only success
Inevitably.
Herta's going to have in the next couple of weeks is that new Zibs record coming out on the 3rd.
You know, they're talking about getting some clean cuts in for the broadcast. Did you know that?
Yes, there is discussion that Colton Herta will be having some Zibs, clean Zibs, delivered to the NBC production truck, so we have to suffer through the Zibs on race day.
Zibs are fantastic.
Mike, can you stop taking pictures of us, please?
Here is my pick for your anchovy of the 500. It's either hero or zero for this guy this weekend. There is no in between. Anything less than a win would be a disappointment at this point for Scott Dixon.
I knew you were going to go there. That's a
West level take.
Brave. It's simultaneously brave and wise.
That car is so darn quick, and there are so many tiny little things that it's the third time we're going to say it. The Speedway picks its winners, and Scott Dixon, outside of once, has never been that guy. 17th last year, 2nd in 2020, 17th. Although, God, now I'm really regretting this. I'm going to go back to 2017. He finished 32nd. 2018, he finished 3rd. 2019, 17th. 2020, he finished 2nd. 2021, he finished 17th. If you're like the numerology,
it
astrology
looks really
stuff,
bad for you, Chris.
Scott Dixon is going to win the Indianapolis 500 this weekend. Dixie,
I love how
you're welcome.
How do you manage to pick the wrong one and just realize it immediately?
39 pitting in.
You know what?
So
James
make your
is pitting in,
anchovy
apparently.
TK.
No.
And make your winner
I'm
Scott
sticking
Dixon.
with these picks. I am going with my heart on this one. In all reality, if Dixon finishes 5th, is that a disappointment? If he has a very average day and finishes 5th.
Yeah, it is.
That's an anchovy kind of day for Scott Dixon.
It's an arguable anchovy. Like, it's in a discussion based on how poorly the other anchovies did. Right?
If he gets if he has a last year type incident and rebounds to 5th, then that's a good job. But if he just runs 5th, come on. You know what I mean? Same thing for Ericsson. If Ericsson has a tough race, then yeah. But if he just runs 10th, you can't run 10th with one of the.
Who did I pick? Rosenquist? Like, if Rosenquist finishes 27th, that's a bigger anchovy than Dixon running 5th.
So with my anchovy pick, if he doesn't wreck anyone versus if he wrecks everyone, where's my anchovy fall? If
he finishes top,
you lose. Yeah. Either way.
If DiFrancesco finishes top 20 and has a clean race, you lose.
If DiFrancesco finishes 33rd and has a clean race, Mike loses.
If he has a mechanical failure, you lose.
It's a risky pick.
It's feast or famine. But we all know DiFrancesco could Roberto Guerrero the field on the warm-up lap and take out 7 guys. None of us would be surprised.
Here's how DiFrancesco wins the anchovy. If he goes Roberto Guerrero 1987. If he manages to launch a tire into the crowd, kill a spectator, and still not win the race, DiFrancesco is your anchovy.
Oh. Well, hopefully that doesn't happen, but
it's a risky pick.
So, Mike, you're
if
a
he
loser.
Takes out Raul
Congratulations.
Castroneves again, that he's
oh my God. Could you imagine, though, if DiFrancesco wipes out like 2 or 3 Andretti's in one wreck?
Yes.
Here's the thing. DiFrancesco has the opportunity to take out Rossi, Andretti, Hurton, McLaughlin, Castroneves on the first lap.
He would honestly not need a police escort out of the
in
place.
turn 1.
Yeah.
You could take out Marco and Colton in one go. Oh my God. Could you imagine the scene if he took out Marco and Colton? in
he
turn
would need a
one.
Could you
police
imagine
escort.
the smirk on Rossi's face if that happened?
Could you imagine the smirk on Kyle Kirkwood's face?
I was just gonna say, Kirkwood
as
would
he
be
comes
laughing
home to
all
a
the way.
comfortable P9.
Wait, I don't know about that though, because Kirkwood has to drive on that team next year.
And he has to
I'm
drive
so
through
sad for
that
that.
incident when it happens. So
All right,
The
with that,
smirk as he
it's time
we
for
gotta
us
get
to
out of
go.
here.
It is way too long that we've been doing this. Fantastic show, boys. As always, we will discuss doing a watch along for the 500. It is a distinct maybe at this point.
We'll definitely be doing a drink along.
Yes. But we'll post it up on the socials if we'll be doing the watch along for the 500. I would imagine we're going to do something. If not a race watch along, probably a post race kind of instant reaction recap kind of thing. But with that, we are getting out of here. This was a fantastic show tonight. For Jason Owens, James Watson, Mike McCullen, Ben Carswell, our buddy Christian Jasper, who again is going to sit on 0 points. Well done, Jasper. You might be beating me still at this point. My name is Chris Graham. It's a pleasure to have you listening to us. I can't believe you're still sitting here this long, but we love you if you do. Till the next one, we'll see you later.